There is a place where the whole world holds its breath, where the rain stops halfway to the ground and the sea forgets how to move. I have been there. So had he, more times than any living thing was ever meant to be. The first time, he was 16 years old, and he was so frightened he could not move. By the time he looked like this, calm, walking through the stillness as if he belonged to it, he had stopped being frightened of it entirely. That was the worst thing that ever happened to him. He still wore his mother's cord. By now, there was nothing left on it. Remember that. The empty cord. He never did. They would call what he became a miracle. They would be wrong. His name was Cyfer Wu. On the day all of this began, he was 3 days south of home, alone, the way he liked best, though he'd never have admitted he liked anything. He was 16 that season, and for the first time they let him walk down to the sea by himself. He had wanted it for years. He had never once said so out loud. Everyone knew the weather turned in the far northwest. It did not turn in the south. So when the southern sky began to darken, early from the wrong direction, Cyfer noticed. His teacher had a rule for moments like this. When you don't know what comes next, be still. Breathe. Then do the first small thing that is true. The first true thing was simple. Get out of the open. So, he ran for the cliffs. He found a cave, folded himself into the dark, and waited for the storm to pass over him. He had read about storms. He had read about everything. Lightning was white. He knew that the way he knew the shape of his own hands. So, when the lightning that struck the far island came down green. Green, the way nothing in the sky has any right to be. Something in him went cold and still and very, very awake. A frightened person runs. Cyfer had never once been able to afford to run, so instead he watched, he counted, he remembered. When the tide pulled back, it left the shallows full of dead fish. Dozens, silver bellies to the sky. Lightning does not do that. He didn't know the island had a name once, in a language no one alive could still read. He didn't know that under its sand was a buried room full of dead machines, and that one of them had just woken for the last time, screamed once in green, and died. He filed it away, the way he filed everything he couldn't explain. Remember the green, remember the fish. He told himself he would, he wouldn't. Home was a place called Cathedral, though no god had ever lived there. Just a stone house too big for its purpose, full of the leftover children of a quiet world, and the few stubborn adults who decided leftover was not the same as worthless. Dinzo ran the kitchen, the farm, and the count of every last grain. The animals loved him. Cyfer thought that was the truest thing you could say about any man. Look at this hall. The boy walks south and comes back a hero. Eat, eat. A fat belly is a useful belly, Cyfer. He gave the best of the catch away before anyone could thank him for it. He was very, very good at being gone by the time the gratitude arrived. You did it again. You gave Thomas your fish, the good ones. I watched you do it. You always give everything away. One day, there's going to be nothing left of you, and you'll hand that over too, and you'll smile about it. I'm fine, Matto. He said he was fine. He was always fine. It was the easiest lie he knew, and the first one he ever learned. The headmistress had run Cathedral since she was 16. She forgot nothing, forgave little, and had never once told Cyfer he'd done well. He had spent 12 years trying to earn it. You came back with strange fish and a stranger quiet on you. What do you want, boy? To help. To bring us closer to center. The same as everyone. That's what everyone wants. I asked what you want. He had no answer. Somewhere along the way, he'd given away the part of himself that was supposed to want things, and never once noticed it was gone. A child who wanted nothing was, in her experience, a child hiding something. She'd seen it once before in a boy named Zva. Go and see Bilo. Tell him whatever it is you're not telling me. Bilo taught the histories and the questions that have no answers. He also sat on the board that decided what each child at Cathedral would be allowed to become. There he is. The traveler returns. Sit. Tell me about the sea. I haven't seen it in 30 years. There was a storm, and the lightning. The lightning was green. The old man went very still. The warmth drained out of his face like water from a cracked cup. Say that again. Who else have you told? Anyone. Think carefully. Swear it to me. On your mother's cord, you will tell no one that word. Then the old man did something Cyfer had never seen him do in 12 years. He knelt and he opened the floor. 40 years ago, I walked the trail you walked. After a storm like yours, the sea left this on the rocks. A cracked leather bag, and inside it, a book, its cover wrong, its hinges wrong, open to row upon row of sharp, ordered writing no living person could read. I have spent my whole life unable to read a single word of it. And then a boy who counts everything and wants nothing walks in off the South Road and says, "Green. We have to go back to that island. Will you come with me?" He should have said no. If he'd been able to put himself first, even once in his life, none of what follows would have happened. But he couldn't. It was the best thing about him. It was the thing that ended everything. He nodded. It took 2 days to find a fisher mad enough to row them out, and a third to reach the one stretch of water no one ever crossed. Nothing grew on the island. No gulls landed on it. Even Bilo, who'd waited 40 years for this, fell silent as they came ashore. There was a way in. There's always a way in. Things that are built always have a door, even when everyone who knew how to open it has been dust for 1,000 years. Inside, the walls ran straight and smooth and dead. It was not a cave. At the heart of it sat a thing, cracked, ancient, enormous, and deep inside the crack, faint as a dying breath, a pulse of green. It's still alive after all this time. It's still. Cyfer saw it begin before the old man did. He always saw things first. The green swelled, too bright, too fast. He shoved his teacher out of the path of it, most of it, not all. Cyfer, it's dark. Why is it dark? I can't see. I can't see you. In 16 years, Cyfer Wu had never once let go. Not of his fear, not of his calm, not of a single thing he wanted. Never. But the one man who had ever looked at him and seen something worth seeing was on the ground in the dark, calling his name, reaching, and could not find him. And something in Cyfer that had been held shut his whole life finally came open, and the world stopped. The rain hung in the air. The dust stood still. Bilo froze mid-reach, and in that perfect, silent, colorless instant where nothing in all the world could move, Cyfer Wu was completely and finally alone. And in the silence, far away and far too close, something looked back.